Whew. Hello, I walked an embarrassingly short distance to give you a trigger warning. You're about to see a trigger warning. If you're triggered by trigger warnings, I don't know, grow up. Phew. Anyway, with that out of the way, this video contains this stuff, and the comments also probably contain this stuff too. I don't know, I haven't published this video yet. Anyway, if you're offended by these kinds of things, then tread lightly, I guess. Anyway, today we're talking about her.
Many, including Nintendo, call them Birdo. Well, Nintendo of America calls them Birdo. In Japan, it's Catherine, but in this video we're talking about the localized version of this character. Anyway, many also use feminine pronouns to refer to her. I mean, she looks pretty girly, she wears makeup, a bow, a diamond ring, and is pink. However, as it turns out, it's more complicated than it initially seems. Alright, so let's go back to the beginning of the Mario series, back in the days when video games were coasters. Arguably, one of the most famous pieces of gaming trivia ever is that Super Mario Bros. 2, the way Japan saw it, was different from how the rest of the world saw it. Their game had impossible levels, and ours had
air suspension shit lift.
If you didn't know, there was a game released in Japan called Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic, a game that was later reskinned as Mario 2 in places that weren't Japan because the Mario 2 in Japan was so hard it rivals the only other Japanese thing with pixels I know of.
So I feel obligated to mention there are some changes in the journey from Doki Doki Panic to Mario 2.
Now, what does this have to do with the pink being from earlier? Well, this was the game she debuted in. Her attack is shooting eggs at you, and you kill her by throwing them back. How much of that is told to you in the instruction manual? Half of that. And there's only 18 words here to describe what she is, and 6 of those words are dedicated to info that's actually telling you that half of the info on how she works. So 1/3 of this instruction manual entry is telling you 1/2 of what you need to know to defeat the boss. Luckily for this game, it's easy to learn, so it's not like it needed to tell us, but still, for an instruction manual, you'd think they'd tell you more. Anyway, considering that's 1/3 of the manual entry, what's the other 2/3?
Well, this stuff. Why do you think I warned you at the beginning of the video?
Yeah, the main piece of trivia many would bring up about this character is that she is, in 2023 language, transgender. And the way the manual tells us is through one of the most dated ways imaginable. He thinks he's a girl and he shoots eggs from his mouth. He'd rather be called Birdetta. This is probably one of the strangest things I've ever seen in an instruction manual. Well, I mean, aside from this, I guess. There are many things worth noting here. So many that this video is more than 2 minutes long. Number 1, why is the manual telling us this? Because I got an idea for some other words you could have written in the instruction manual instead. She shoots eggs from her mouth. You can pick them up and throw them back to defeat her.
Hey, wait, that's kind of what they say in the Super Mario Advance manual, the remake of Super Mario Bros. 2. Huh.
This isn't an exclusive oddity with this character. The manual also mentions how the Red Shy Guy and Sniffets are part of the 8-Bits, which is some club in Evil Dreams. Whatever the fuck that means. And apparently ninjas appear in the dreams of NES players. The point I'm trying to make here is that this is kind of superfluous information in an instruction manual. All you really need to put in this is how they work. Not that like it's a big deal or anything. There isn't really anything wrong with doing that. I guess I just bring it up because I find it weird how the extra superfluous info they gave to this character was that, quote, he thinks he's a girl, which leads me to number 2. This character, when you look at her in-game, is pink and has eyelashes, also known as girl signifiers in media. Or at least this media. Not in real life, though. Everyone has eyelashes, and anyone can get a weird skin condition that turns their skin pink. In other places and future interpretations, she has some more things like a diamond ring, and most obviously a bow, which is also a pretty feminine thing in our world. I mean, obviously anyone can wear a bow, and a woman can choose not to wear a bow. But the overall point I'm trying to build up to here is most people would look at this feminine looking character and just instinctively think, oh, a girl character, if the thought of its gender even came up at all. Which leads me to ask, whose idea was it to make this character, whose gender doesn't matter one way or the other, identify as a girl and look like a girl, but then literally say in the manual, he thinks he's a girl, and tell us over and over that you made it so this character was assigned male at birth, as if you don't approve of her wanting to self-assign as a girl. It's not like Bird was a drag queen or a feminine man man, and parts of the game's story or whatever require you to tell us weirdly specific things about her gender. What was the point here? I don't know why you felt the need to bring up how they think they're a girl when you could have just left it at girl. Wait, I know why they said thinks they're a girl. Is because this game was made in the 80s, far before trans people were more accepted people in the world. Which leads me to number 3. Why, in the 80s, did they make this random character who looks like a girl Amab, who now identifies as a girl? I'm curious about the intentions here. Looking at how this manual entry was written, it was clearly not done with the intention of trying to normalize the representation of trans people in media. And the focus of Mario 2 wasn't in its story or especially its character development. It kind of seems like they made this character this way just so they could make a man who thinks he's a girl an enemy because they hated trans people or something. Though perhaps it's not as deep as that. Maybe they just wanted to create an imaginary trans character just so they could say what you do and think is dumb because LGBTQ plus attitudes were down the toilet back then. Or maybe they were trying to do neutral representation, as in presenting a trans person as a thing that exists in the world factually, but making them a villain because that could also exist in the world factually. However, the neutral representation at the time is transphobic now because nobody treated trans people with respect back then, and there's been several social changes since then. I don't know, but whatever the intention was, the outcome of their choice to make a trans character comes off as them being rude as shit. That brings me on to number 4, the language. They sure do say he a lot in this instruction manual, which is quite distracting because now they say he 5 times in this block of text, which is around 27% of the words used here. They also call her a he elsewhere in the manual. That's about all I had to say for that. But in proper pronoun use does relate to number 5 on my list of discussion points. So like, what's this character's name supposed to be at this point? Okay, so nowadays, long after Mario 2, this character still shows up in Mario games, and for the most part her pronouns have consistently remained female. At least in North America, some parts of the world they change occasionally. And also Brawl calls her intermediate. Most people, as in real life people, call her a her, but I've also seen some question it, likely because of the way her first appearance describes her gender, or just because of all the uncertainty from Nintendo. On the other side of that, something Nintendo is very consistent on, as well as everyone else who ever talks about this character, is calling her Birdo, which sucks because according to this manual entry, she doesn't even want to be called that. Yeah, if she'd rather be called Birdetta according to the original manual, that means her preferred name is Birdetta and calling her Birdo is dead naming, which is a concept many more people are familiar with in current year than they were back when this character was made. Here's the thing though, has Nintendo since retconned this original manual entry or not? We don't really have any way of knowing if they've since changed her character to be a cis girl or still a trans one, unless they flat out say it, which they probably won't. And as for her name, she has called herself Birdo in Mario Golf Super Rush, so we could assume the want to be called something else has since been retconned, as this is more recent. But you know, this also could be interpreted as Nintendo being disrespectful or whatever. This also makes me wonder what name fans think they should link this character to. Many still call her Birdo for a variety of reasons, like that being the official Nintendo given name in all of the games, not knowing about her preferred name those other times, not caring about her preferred name those other times, thinking it was retcon because of that one text box I was able to find in that one game, or just general confusion on which name should be said. I don't see many people referring to her as Birdetta, though I did make a poll asking what name the people who watch me believe she has. Only around 30 people responded, and most still called her Birdo. And I made a second one recently because I made the other one before my uptake in subscribers, which also had a majority calling her Birdo. However, there was also a statistic of people who called her Birdetta. I don't know it right now. You can see it on screen. Some people didn't even know what I was talking about, so hopefully this video educated you on cultured swines. How dare you not know about some random stupid manual entry from a 35-year-old video game? And this person's comment is pretty much the exact reason I'm making this video. It wasn't this comment that made me make this video, it's more so observations like this that made me think, oh yeah. And going back to her name, I'd also assume many who are both knowledgeable on trans topics or are in the LGBTQ plus space in general who also like Mario would be calling her Birdetta, or at least have the discussion kept in their head whenever the character is brought up, assuming they know about this 35-year-old manual entry. Considering how much has changed just in these past few years in terms of transgender discussion and representation and acceptance kind of. I feel like more and more people will start questioning what the hell they're doing with this character. Will Nintendo update this character and call her Birdetta? Will Nintendo continuously keep calling her Birdo and keep making herself identify as Birdo? Maybe to try to declare the original manual entry non-canon in a way that isn't outright saying they've decanonized it? Will they phase her out completely? Will they do any number of other things they could do? I don't know. So what was the point of this video? I don't know, what's the point of any video, man? I guess I just felt like making this video because this manual entry is really weird and dated and stupid, and I wanted to make fun of that. And the crazy ripple effect it's had on this character, who I doubt anyone would really give a shit about otherwise. Like, what else is there to talk about when it comes to this character? It's a common thought among fans that Yoshi is her boyfriend or something. Why? They're both dinosaur creatures and they're paired up in some Mario spin-offs like Double Dash. That's it. They just hang around each other and they aren't the same gender. We haven't seen them kiss or whatever. Probably because that would entail Yoshi's tongue going inside Birdie's mouth hole, and that looks too much like a sex act. Actually, it might be a sex act. Eggs come out of here. Is this pre-op or post-op? Anyway, what do I call her then? I have no fucking clue. As a woke, I want to call her Birdetta, but also because the company that made her self-identify as Birdo, and also commonly calls her Birdo, and also probably doesn't even remember they made this to begin with, I feel like calling her Birdo as well. I didn't call her any of those when I was just talking about her earlier though. What did I say? Probably because that would entail Yoshi's tongue going inside Birdie's mouth hole. Oh yeah, I called her Birdie because that sounds like a shorter nickname for any name with bird in it. Maybe I'll call her that in the future. I don't know. Fuck it. Will I even need to mention this character ever again? Famous last words. Also, I just realized something. I think by theorizing that Birdie's mouth is a vagina, I therefore implied that Yoshi's tongue is a penis. And to end off this video, if you're one of those people who go out of their way to dead name people, good luck with this character fuckface, cause she's got two. Number 6, someone at Nintendo didn't even give her the name she didn't want to be called at the time anyway. In some versions of the manual and the credits of the game, someone at Nintendo somehow confused this pink creature with a fucking ostrich. Ostro. Oops, how did this happen? I have no idea. Maybe Ostra was called Birdo because it's a bird. There are a lot of birds they could have accidentally swapped her name with though. There's an alternate universe where Birdie began life terminally online.